Good afternoon. In the previous little bit of footage I shot, I was going to get arty-tarty and compile a lot of shots of the car coming out of the workshop and stuff and going for its test drive. Drove out the workshop fine, and I did a lot of laps of the car park outside that I'm not too keen on filming, to be honest, because I don't want to put where the workshop is to everybody. Those in the know where it's at, and those that need to know where it's at, but I'm not going to stick its location up on YouTube, and by driving around the car park and filming it, I might give that away. So I drove around the car park and I did a lot of mapping, and it was all good actually. I wouldn't say there was anything wrong with it. The needed a few tweaks, and there was a bit of a stumble when you were setting off, but there was a ever so slight noise that I couldn't work out what it was, and we thought it was something to do with the air filter side, but it seems as though all the engine noises have been transmitted down the air filter and coming out this side. And it's a Mini with straight cut drops, so trying to work out what noise in the engine bay was something not right, or what noise in the engine bay was just normal. And it sounds totally different to the previous version Evo 1 of the 8-port, supercharged 8-port, so you can't really compare it. But anyway, so it was making a ever so slight noise, and I couldn't quite place what it was. So I decided to go out on a test drive just on the roads just outside, on the main road. There is a bit of a back road I could do my testing on, to keep off the dual carriageway, because you don't want to test a car that you don't know if it's going to run on a dual carriageway. Trust me. So I went up and down the back road, and it started screeching like a belt slipping noise. I was like, oh, belt tension's too loose, because I have looked at it before and thought maybe it could have done with being a bit tighter, but I just thought I'd just try it and see. So I thought, alright, fair enough, belt tension's not as tight as it needs to be. And I stopped, let it cool down, checked everything over, everything seemed fine, and then I set off again on the back road route, and after I'd gone half a mile, it started screeching really bad. I was like, oh, definitely the belt, and I could just about smell a bit of rubber in that as well. So from there I turned out onto the road that joins the dual carriageway, and I got onto the roundabout that joins the dual carriageway, and it basically just stopped. I was waiting for traffic to come by so I could join the dual carriageway, and it stopped, and it was starting to run a little bit hot by then, because it was fully up to temperature, so all the fans were working, the water pumps were working, and I was trying to turn it over, and it was like and I could see the battery voltage just dropping way down. And I could see from the ECU as well, from the laptop that I had next to me, because I was doing the old fast and furious mapping, danger to manifold, etc., that the battery voltage was getting low with me trying to turn it over, and everything else with the current drive, everything else running. Finally it fired up before there was a big queue behind me. There was like one vehicle, which was lucky. And I set off at like 10 million gazillion revs across the roundabout and off down the dual carriageway back towards the workshop. But it was smelling really bad, and then there was like rubber smoke started to come through into the cabin, from the engine bay, and I was like, this isn't good. So I dived into a lay-by, handily placed, jumped out, took the bonnet off, had a look, and everything looked all right. I went to check the belt tension, so I was pushing down on it, and I pushed down on the top where the slackest bit is, and it kept on pushing. So I grabbed it and pulled it, and it came up in two parts. Well, one part, but it's supposed to be joined together, but it wasn't. So that was it, game over. So I phoned for Christopher to come and tow me back to the workshop, because even though it would probably fire up, I was going to be getting low on battery voltage with everything running because it was warm, and obviously with nothing turning, I don't have any way to turn the alternator without the supercharger. Without the supercharger belt, because it's all one belt that drives everything. So obviously I need to carry some more spares, which had some spares, but they were at home. But anyway, so everything was like dead hot to touch. So I said, all right, let's just tow it back. So we towed it back on the world's shortest tow rope, and I've lost about 10 years and got some more grey hairs after that. And then we fired it up in the car park, and it drove back into the unit, because obviously it cooled down a bit. And obviously with it mapping not being correct, it didn't want to start when it was properly hot and stuff. So anyhow, it cooled down, backed it in up onto the ramps, left it to cool off a bit more, messed about doing some other stuff, started prepping Austin for the show that was yesterday. And while we were doing that, we started testing the various pulleys and stuff on that side of the engine to make sure everything was all right. Alternator span, which was a big relief. All the pulleys, as we worked our way to the back, they all span all right. Nothing was wobbling or seized or anything like that. And then we got to the supercharger, and we got some gloves on to try and turn the pulley, and nothing was turning at all. And you touched the casing of the supercharger, the alloy casing, it was burning hot. So maybe it's seized. Why is it seized? Because we bled the fluid through, we cracked it open at every point that you could access the routing of the hoses, and there was fluid there. You're supposed to run the engine and watch it return into the canister to prove that the system's working. The only problem is I can't run the engine and have access to the canister at the same time, because it's buried in that corner of the engine bay. So that was the part we couldn't test, but it definitely had fluid in it when we started, because we tested it coming out of the outlet, obviously. So after that, we tried to turn the supercharger with gloves. We couldn't grip it, so we took off the Rotrex sticker on the end. That's all it is, and it reveals there's a big Allen bolt and two other bolts that are all to do with holding the pulley on. Put a 8mm Allen key, I think it was, in the end. Didn't turn at all. So that was it. Game over. I'm assuming that the supercharger has seized or had some sort of internal failure. I've spent last night, or spent Saturday night after we went to bed, on the internet trying to find out where and how I could get it repaired and checked over. There's TTS in the UK, who are the Rotrex supplier. So I fired off a message to them to see if they can do rebuilds. And then not long after that, I found, using the power of Google, a guy on Facebook called Dave, who basically rebuilds centrifugal superchargers. And he's done a whole lot of Rotrex, and he knows the ins and outs of them. So I messaged him, and then I got a reply yesterday, so that's Sunday, while I was at the show with Austin, and he can look at it. He says parts for the smaller C15s aren't as easy to come by as they are for the bigger ones, but he can also get anything made. So if you've got a supercharger Rotrex and you know you're facing a hefty rebuild, get in touch with him. So yeah, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to time lapse it. I don't know how long it's going to take me, and get the supercharger off and have a look at it, and then I'll get the address from this Dave, and probably get it sent off tomorrow, so that'll be Tuesday, and see what it says, see how bad it is. But at the moment, it's just sitting there looking sorry for itself. Everything's connected. The car still runs, because it was on the ramps. We drove it out of the workshop, backed it back in. Now Austin's on the ramps, so that I can do in a CV boot on that one, and also try and work out why I could only get 3 gears yesterday, which was fun, driving to the shop, but it wasn't far, so that was all right. Yeah, so that's it. I'm rambling. That's it for now. Next update will probably be I don't know, I'm way behind on my editing, so you know, you'll be watching this, it'll probably be months after I've blooming well got the supercharger back. Hopefully. But yeah, that's it for now. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Right, let's have a look, see what we can see. I've got the supercharger off, obviously. And when you look at the outside, there's no, obviously, well, maybe a tiny bit of a leak just there, where there's some fluid coming out. Tiny bit. And what was this side like? Again, tiny little bit of damp just in there, but it's wet under the bottom. Look, there was a drip on the bottom of the supercharger. I could see from below. This is wet in here. So maybe there's a seal in the back of there. Has given up the ghost, because I've not touched this pulley at all until I took the sticker off the end to try and turn it. It doesn't want to turn. I'll get a screwdriver. Right, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I can get out my own light. If you look in there, the blade, what's this, the impeller perhaps, has been contacting this face in here. It's all scratched, and when you look in, which one is it, that one down in there, if I can get out the old light again. Where's the torch? Where's the torch? Where is the fucking torch? You might not be able to see it, but on that blade down there where it touches, or has been touching, it's jammed up against the alloy housing of whatever the hell this bit's called, just the, I don't know, the impeller housing or something. The blade there's is all jammed up against it, it's all damaged, and when you pan it round you can see it in there as well. I don't know if the GoPro will pick it up or not, but trust me, there's damage in there, and all these bigger blades have been touching. So whether, I don't know, I would have thought actually that this bit was supposed to be further out inside this housing. I don't know, but yeah, I'm sure that's not standard. So I'll get it packaged up and sent off to the UK Supercharger Repair Centre. It's not a Rotrex authorised place, but it's just a guy that does supercharger rebuilds, and he's going to give me an assessment on this one and see just how bad it is. Yeah, it never ends but it pours, doesn't it? But yeah, I can't really understand what's been happening in there. It's as though something inside has moved or snapped or something, and there wasn't much fluid come out of there, so, and it's not like really wet underneath the car, so it hasn't been leaking that much fluid. So whether it's just the internals have failed and it's stopped pumping fluid through, don't know, but it's not a happy chappy. So at best it's going to be a £500–600 bill. At worst it's going to be more than a couple of thousand. But let's just wait and see.